Good afternoon, and welcome to Straight Talking with Kelly. This is where real conversations happen. This is where you will meet some of the most talented, intelligent, and creative people who come to share tips, resources, and knowledge on various topics. My guests come from a multitude of industries that include education, music, television, theater, fashion, culinary arts, hospitality, health and wellness, mental health advocates, and so much more. Join me today in welcoming my guest, Marnita Smith. She's a pole dancer. But before we talk about her journey as a pole dancer, I'd like to tell the audience a little bit about her. But first, let's welcome Marnita. Welcome, Miss Marnita.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited, and I cannot wait to get into talking about what you do. So Marnita is an all-around creative who started pole dancing 6 years ago. In that time, she danced in 6 amateur competitions and 9 showcases. In addition to pole dancing, Marnita enjoys getting creative in the kitchen, walking around the neighborhood, occasionally sewing, or using her creative skills in her job as a graphic designer. Graphic designer, yes. So, Marnita, tell us a little bit about your upbringing. Where were you born and raised, and what schools did you attend?
Born and raised in San Francisco, California. Went to Philip Burton High School. After that, took a bit of a break. Moved down to Southern California with my family, down in Los Angeles area. After that, I went to Cal State Northridge, where I majored in art. I was actually interested in fashion design for the longest. And I kind of looked into schools for that. And it just didn't pan out like financially and things like that. And so then a relative of mine was like, try graphic design. And that's when I got into graphic design. And then I just have always enjoyed being kind of creative, drawing a little bit. And I've always enjoyed music. I come from a musical family, but I don't sing. I don't play an instrument. But in my history of working out, even like on the treadmill and stuff, I'm always listening to music. So that's kind of, I think, why pole dancing and dancing has become my thing, because it combines being creative. It combines listening to music and doing pieces to music. It combines fitness, which I need to be into to stay healthy. So that's me.
You know what? That's really interesting that when you talked about that you had wanted to go to fashion school, so that explains why you can whip up a swimsuit or the things that I've seen you create.
Yeah.
So that it makes sense now. And then, yes, you do come from a musical family. Your father is a musician. Your uncle is a musician. But your auntie, Linda, is also a creative. You know, she does art and jewelry, and she sews beautifully, and she can draw.
She's the one that suggested I go to school for graphic design. She probably won't even remember that, but she's the one that suggested I look into graphic design. And I remember that day, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll look into that.
Which leads me to my next question. So tell me about your professional background as a graphic artist. What does that entail? Like, what do you do? What do you do for a company?
Well, there are many ways that you can be a graphic designer, and I've had many over my career. I've worked in many different companies. Right now, I work for a beauty company, and I design packaging. I actually manage the creative services department that designs the packaging for our customers. So we work with customers that have their own salon, or maybe they just start a beauty brand and sell on Amazon or something like that. And my particular company, we make the products, we bottle the products, and then my department will do the design. So sometimes people will come to us with a blank canvas, and that's really when I get into it, when I can just sit there and kind of know a little bit about their company and design a look for them. And sometimes they give us a look that's already just needs to get ready for production. That's kind of boring, but it's part of the job.
Well, you know what? It doesn't sound boring to me. I think that it's definitely a creative endeavor. So it is my understanding that pole dancing originated from the traveling fairs during the Depression time in the 1920s, right?
Mm.
And where a group of dancers were entertaining crowds in show tents using lots of hip movement and suggestive dancing known as back then the hoochie coochie. There are many people that think pole dancing is bad because it is about sexual stimulation for men, which is evident because of the strip clubs where they go to watch women. However, the popularity of pole dancing has grown over the decades, with studios all over the world offering classes for people of all ages, sizes, and abilities. So now, Marnita, tell us about your journey and how you became a pole dancer and one that competes on top of that. In
It was
those high heel
all,
shoes, mind you, in those
yes.
platforms. It's like, explain that.
It all just kind of happened by like, it wasn't something I really set out to do. Like I mentioned, I kind of got into fitness just, to keep myself healthy and to as something to do. Um, I would go to the gym, I would go for walks and stuff like that. And then at one point, I remember just being at home after work and being a little bored. And I was like, I'm bored. I need something to do after work, something to get into, something other than just going to the gym and getting on the treadmill. And I had kind of seen some pictures and videos of pole dancers come across my feed on Instagram and things like that. And I was like, let me see if there's a pole dancing class around. I had originally took one pole dancing class in Vegas as we were doing a bachelorette party for a friend. And
Okay.
I was like, oh, okay, let's take a pole dancing class. That's what you do. It was fun. I didn't think anything of it. So years later, I'm sitting at home and I was like, I wonder if they have pole studios around here. I didn't even know it was such a big thing.
Okay.
So I just got on the computer, Google pole studios near me, found a couple, researched a couple. So I originally found one that I was like, oh, you know what? I'll take a couple classes here. Maybe I'll take classes for a month or something like that. I just thought it would be like a fun thing, which it still is a fun thing. Um, so I went to that studio. I really loved it. That studio has since closed down. They had a multiple locations, but they were really kind of they didn't allow cameras in. So no one really knew I was doing it at that point, unless it was someone I was talking to or saying I'm going to pole dance classes. I wasn't sharing videos and things like that because I couldn't. But I think that really gave me the confidence of not having the pressure of, oh, let me have this perfect video to put on Instagram or whatever. It was more about the community and your classmates around you giving you support, because in that studio they didn't even have mirrors. They didn't want you to look at yourself and be self-conscious. What their motto was the other students in class are your mirrors. So as you're dancing, they're like, ooh, girl, you look great. Oh, you look
The
so good, you
encouragement
look
is
so
there.
hot.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that really built up my confidence. And then that studio closed. And
Yeah.
I was devastated. I was like, wait, I've been coming here for that. I went on to go there for like 6 months, and I would go there like
Okay.
2 times a week. And I was
Okay.
like, what the heck? My studio closed. So I went and found the studio that I'm at now, which is the Vertitude. It's actually closer to my house. So I went there, and luckily I had some confidence already built up.
Okay.
So the classes worked really differently. There were mirrors. There was more focus on the technical aspect of tricks and things like that. And you could record yourself. So I got into like putting videos up. And then I started hearing some of the other students talk about competing. And I would just kind of hear it. I was new, I was shy, I wasn't really talking to people, but I would hear them talk about like, oh, I'm competing, and oh, when I compete at this. And I was like, what is this competition they're talking about? So I went on and kind of did my research, and then I went to the competition. I was like, let me just go and see what it's all about. And
Okay.
there
Nice.
were people from the studio that I knew competing, and there were other people in the audience just supporting all the competitors. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. So I asked one of the girls one day, like, that was competing. I was like, how'd you get into that? Or how do you get into the competition. And she's like, just go online and apply. Anybody can apply. You should do it. And that was all the encouragement I needed. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then, of course, after I signed up, I was like, what am I doing?
Okay.
Why am I doing this? I'm not good. That's how I got into it.
That is so amazing. So you know what? Now I remember the very first time when I saw you on the poll on one of your Facebook posts, I was like, what is this girl doing? Because you were not that good.
Yeah.
You were struggling trying to get up on the poll. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this girl is nuts. And I said, you know what? But I'm going to keep watching her. I said, because if she's this bold to do this, this must mean something to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I continued to watch you. And just over the years watching, I'm like, oh my God. Then I start realizing this is not something that's real easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I understood that struggle when I first saw you. Do you have any clips of when you first started?
You know what? I know I was supposed to bring some. I didn't.
Okay.
I started kind of looking through and I was like, this is too much because I've been doing it for so long. Like I had to go through my camera roll and go.
So you didn't know which one. You should have asked me, girl, because I could have found some of them ones. I could have went on Facebook and snatched one of them. But again, just being able to see that transition, then I got really into it. I was like, oh, this is about strength and core building and flexibility. And, you know, especially when you started doing the little twirls, and I said, oh, look at her now. I mean, just really, you know, you've turned into this little dynamic dancer on there. So, but one of the things that I also thought was really interesting, you're not the typical size of what somebody considers a pole dancer.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing when I said, oh, she got some serious confidence.
Yeah.
So talk about that.
And so I think that kind of goes back to, that's why I brought up the original studio that I was at, and that confidence that was built, because that is something that crossed my mind, you know, as I started to go further and put videos out there. But I already had that confidence built where I was like, you know what? I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm not the perfect body, but I want to celebrate myself. And being able to be in class with people that of all shapes, sizes, abilities, to see that like it's not just the tall, skinny white women with long legs and flowy hair.
Right.
That, you know, it can be me that I'm shorter, I'm more muscular or thicker. Again, short hair, you know.
Girl, you one of them. Look, when I saw you, I said she one of them Dove commercial women.
Yeah, you know, and
Dove
it's like,
girls.
It's when you go to class, you see more of that, more people, and you see everyone kind of like admiring something in someone else, and everyone else. And so it's kind of, it was like, okay, I'm gonna put myself out there, because even still, sometimes I'll like record videos and be like, oh, I don't want to post this because it's not perfect or something like that. I remember once a couple months ago, I was posting something and I was like, okay, this move, I'm still struggling with it, but I've been trying to get it for like 5 years. So yeah, I'm gonna celebrate myself that I got it. It's not perfect. I don't look perfect in this video, but I don't have the time to go and make sure I look perfect and do the video and do 10 takes and make sure I look perfect. I ain't got the time for that.
You know what? I think that's the beauty of it for me. And I'm sure for other women that are watching it, because I'm sure people probably thought the same thing I did at first, like, oh, this girl, who she thinks she is, getting on the phone looking like this. But then the more you start watching you, then I start watching your body even change.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so I just know that your confidence is probably helping so many women, and whether they're pole dancers or not, but just being able to embrace, you know, I'm plus size, get over it. If there's, you know, we exist. So what am I supposed to disappear or not do anything because of that? So you showing a generation of women how to embrace who they are and what they are, I think is incredible. And I think this is why I wanted to do this podcast with you, to be able to share your story.
Yeah, now, I appreciate that. And that's one of the things I want to do is like you know, like you said, pole dancer or not, like I always tell people when they're like, "Oh, I admire your pole dancer," I've told you, like,
Right,
you know, they're
right,
like, "I admire." I'm like, "Go take a class," and you're like, "No."
exactly.
You know, I tell everyone that, but and you know, I talked about this when we were talking about doing the podcast. It's a confidence thing, and so a lot of people are like, I couldn't do that because they don't have the confidence. And so I
Right,
just want people to know, like, you can do whatever you allow yourself to do. You know, just
absolutely.
if you want to take a pole dancing class, if you want to run a marathon, if you want to start a podcast, you know, get out there and do it. Don't sit there and be like, well, I can't do it because this person has this and I don't have this. Like, find what works for you, you know, have the confidence to do it.
Girl, talk about it. If it wasn't for one of my coaches, Kim Evans, who suggested that I actually do a podcast, I didn't even know what a podcast was. So, and she was like, Kelly, you would be great at it. And with her coaching, I was able to do it. And again, I don't look for perfection. My thing is more so about getting the stories that need to be told out there.
Yeah.
And so I don't need to be perfect to do that. I just need to be able to have the conversation. And that's why I say straight talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. So
Yeah.
now my other thing to you is what I learned from you. Pole dancing requires a significant muscular endurance,
Hmm.
coordination, as well as sensuality. So you do have to be sensual. It requires flexibility, core strength, and the proper instruction. So you're instructed in this. It's not
Hmm.
like you're just going and doing your own thing.
Right.
So talk about what that entails.
Yeah, you know, I think that that entails a lot of discipline, to go in and listen to instruction and really listen and look and see what's happening. That's something I've been noticing. And I think that that's something that helps me in life too. It's just like, you know,
Absolutely.
knowing that you got to go in there and focus. If you're, yeah, we like us taking pole class, we go in there to have a good time and stuff. But when the instructor's teaching you how to stay on the pole, what points of your body are going to stay connected, you got to pay attention to that,
Yeah.
because otherwise you're going to get up there and you're not going to know what you're doing and you might hurt yourself, you know. So you've really got to be disciplined in that. The strength, you've really got to work towards it. You've got to know, and you've got to know your body and how to work towards things. I know when I first started, I wanted to just like go to class and get the trick and get my Instagram video. That was the important thing. But now I'm knowing that that's not going to always happen, especially in an hour 15-minute class. You're taking 20 minutes to warm up in the beginning, which is very important because you want to get your muscles warm. You don't want to just jump on the pole with cold muscles and possibly strain something. And then you're trying to learn this trick. You're in a class of like 7 or 8 people. The instructor is trying to teach everyone and they're trying to answer all the questions. It's important to not push yourself in a way that you're going to hurt yourself or hurt someone else. So it's important to kind of just know and follow that instruction.
And so that's the thing. So when you're talking about the warm ups, that's what it's like. What kind of exercises do you do before you get on the pole? So
It
you guys doing like
depends.
stretching and
Yeah, it depends
jumping
on the
jacks?
it depends on the teacher. I've done it all. I've done
Okay.
stretching, jumping jacks, push-ups, planks. At the first studio I was at, it was more about sensuality. So we would do more of a sensual body rolls and things
Okay.
like that, those kind of warm-ups. And you'll still do that sometimes if you're doing more of a dancey class. Some of the teachers are more like, let's get into it. Let's do those jumping jacks. Let's do the stretches. You know, let's do, there's a mix of some like yoga moves in there. So it kind of all depends on what the instructor brings. And then
Okay.
sometimes if they know you're doing a certain move that's going to require a certain stretch or move a certain muscle, they'll focus on that in the warm up a little bit more. And then when I do kind of open pole sessions for myself, I will usually just kind of dance as a warm up. I will just dance and stay on the floor and do twirls around the pole and nothing strenuous that takes like muscle, but I'll put on a fast song like some Michael Jackson or something
Okay.
and dance around, and then that gets my muscles warm so that I can
Okay.
get up on the pole.
Okay. And because you've been doing it for so long, your body's really conditioned.
Hmm.
That's why you can do that. And
Yeah.
so early on, I'm sure you probably practice a lot at home, just the exercises to be able to get that strength.
Once I really got into it, yes, like first it was just like, oh, okay, I really just want to be sexy. And, there wasn't a lot of practicing I was doing at home. But then once I started competing, there were like, oh, okay, I'm going to stretch and work on my flexibility at home. I'm going to work on my toe point at home, and leg engagement. I have a pull-up bar, which probably kind of sat in the box for 5 years, and then I put it out. So, and especially during the pandemic, I don't have a pole, but I have my pull-up bar. I do my pull-up bar. I do stretches. During the pandemic, because the studio couldn't be open, we had online classes that worked on flexibility and strength and things like that to kind of keep you conditioned so that when you came back, you weren't starting from zero.
Oh, that is so awesome. Yeah. I knew it took a lot of focus and a lot of dedication to do what you're doing. So now, did you run into any opposition from family, friends when you decided to pole dance? And what were some of the things that were said and how did you handle it?
You know what? I thought I was going to run into opposition. I probably got some like kind of, oh, that's what you're doing type looks, but nobody was like, you need to stop that. I kind of didn't talk about it for a while, and then, started talking about it, started posting about it. And I did get nervous when I started posting about it. I think when I first started posting, what I would do was I would only post on Instagram. I wouldn't post on Facebook because I have family on Facebook. And I was like, oh, I'll just post on Instagram. I would make sure to hit the little button where it wouldn't share on Facebook.
Show Facebook.
Then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to share because it became so much of a part of my life that I was like, I'm going to share because I'm doing these competitions and I'm doing these shows and I want to promote these things. So I was like, if anybody doesn't like it, that's fine. And I started talking about it more and more. And then I started getting comfortable mentioning it at work, which was, I was like, I don't know how people are going to receive it. And I have to say that since then, I work at the same company, but we've been bought by a bigger company. But when we were originally just a small kind of individual company, I had mentioned it to our HR manager at the time. She's no longer with the company. She had noticed I was losing weight and she said, man, what are you doing? And I was like, for a second, I was
like pole dancing.
And then I did. I said, I'm doing pole dancing. She's like, oh, wow. And she came up to me months later. We were getting ready for our Christmas party. And she's like, so can you guys perform at the Christmas party? And I was like, yeah, no.
You're like, you're doing too much, lady.
But I was really surprised.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
Exception. I thought I was like, I'm telling the HR manager that I pole dance. And she was just like, wow, that's great. Yeah, come to the Christmas party. And I was like, no,
not this year.
Work.
Maybe next year. Now, so to talk about, so you were fortunate that you didn't get negativity or people not supporting your venture, and I'm your cousin, so that's how I saw you on Facebook when I first started following you. Now I know that there is like some, I don't know, talk about what goes on with strippers and people like you, pole dancers that do it for competition. What is that relationship like? So
there is some static, I guess you could say, online. There's from what I can see, what was happening was that people were getting into pole fitness and pole dancing classes and stuff. And because they didn't want the stigma, from what I understand, is that they would put their videos and say like, not a stripper, or like hashtag not a stripper or something like that, to kind of separate themselves. And then Instagram and other social media platforms have been trying to kind of block stripper content, as far as like, oh, they deem this not worthy of being on everyone's feed, so they're not showing it and things like that. And so there was kind of some tension between strippers and people saying like, oh, I pole dance, but I don't strip. So I want to make it clear that I don't want to disrespect any strippers or anything like that. I know some strippers. Like I've been in class with some of my teachers have been strippers. They're just like everyone else. I actually don't even ask when I go into class. Like I don't like if somebody talks about what they do in any aspect, I'm like, oh, that's what you do. Okay. I'm so like focused on what we're doing together in class. But so there's been some back and forth and some tension between strippers and people not being strippers, and making sure that we as pole dancers don't disrespect those that are strippers, because there's no reason to disrespect them.
No, and I mean that's how they make their living. So it's like,
Yeah.
get over it.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm sure they can probably teach y'all some moves that you don't know.
Yeah.
How about that? How about that? So now, what kind of advice would you give to someone that wanted to be a pole dancer, especially someone that has a more plus size body? What would you say to them?
I would say go take some classes. Don't be afraid. There are plus size teachers out there, plus size pole dancers. So, if you want to scroll through Instagram and see, I can't think of any of the hashtags right now, but, as you find plus size pole dancers, follow them, see what hashtags they're using, find other plus size pole dancers, because you hear it so much, but I'm starting to realize that representation does matter.
Yes.
And is to see someone that looks like you in some kind of way matters. Doing something that you want to do, that matters, because otherwise the media will have you thinking like, the mainstream media to have you thinking like, this is not for you, but it's absolutely for anyone. So yeah, definitely try it. Don't be afraid to try it. Go to some classes, just, fill it out. I I found that the pole community is really supportive. Like I go to class, even if I'm not doing my best, people are like, great job, or try it this way, or try it that way. I don't really feel like it's an environment, from what I've experienced, it's not really an environment where people are whispering and laughing behind your back, or
Okay. Okay. Nice.
saying, ew, why'd you come to this class?
Right.
I don't get that vibe from anywhere that I go. And if you go somewhere and get that vibe, because it does happen sometimes, if you go somewhere and you feel like people are looking at you funny, or you feel like the instructor is not deeming you worthy of instruction, then go somewhere else. That's not the place for you.
Now, have you ever thought about being an instructor or maybe mentoring someone in pole dancing?
It crosses my mind, but back to what we were saying with instruction, you really have to be patient with people and know how to instruct. So now that I've been doing pole dancing for about 6 years, it crosses my mind, like, would I want to do it? How could I do it? As far as instructing, I don't think I'm ready yet. I'd really have to know how to explain things to people, and you have to know how to explain things to people in different ways. Like this person on pole one may understand it this way, this person on pole two may understand it this way, and then there are the different body types. I've noticed it when I have teachers of different body types, like what works for them and their long legs and their skinny torso doesn't work for me. But they're really good at looking at what I'm doing and figuring out, oh, okay, so this is happening here, try this instead. So it's something that I think about. Mentoring, yes. Just by doing this interview and things like that, and talking to people, putting my videos out there. I actually had someone contact me once, and she said that she was taking pole dancing classes, and her teacher, who was a former person that used to, fellow student of mine, her teacher told her to follow me as inspiration. And I didn't even think that I would be inspiring to someone. And so this girl just like messaged me and was like, hey, I was taking some pole classes and I was really ready to quit. And my teacher told me I should follow you. And I was like, wow.
Oh, how
I was
nice.
like, that's kind of
Nice.
cool. So I
Yeah.
think just by putting myself out there and stuff, and if I see someone in class that maybe is looking a little down after class, because we all have those moments where we'll leave class and you'll feel a little down because maybe you were the only person in class that didn't get that move. I
Okay.
still feel that way sometimes. I'll try to like talk to that person and be like, hey, great job today. Hope to see you again. And I really hope that makes a difference, because a lot of pole dancers that I know will say it's about the community for
Yeah.
them. That's what makes it fun. Like, yeah, we're coming and we're doing this and we're getting ready for our shows and stuff, but it's just great to have this supportive community rallying around you.
That's beautiful. So now we're getting ready to segue into a little bit more about you now, as opposed to your pole dancing. I would like for you to name 3 people that have inspired you.
Just in general?
Yes.
Okay. 3 people that have inspired me. I wasn't prepared for this one. Can I come back to this one?
You know what? No, just really take your time. Give it a minute.
Okay. 3 people that have inspired me. I mean, my parents have always inspired me. That's a cheat because I'm grouping them all together.
No, that's not. No. People do that all the time. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Just seeing them work so hard in what they do and always instilling in me to work hard in what I do. Um, gosh, I don't know. I find a little bits of inspiration in like everyone, just seeing people go out there and do what it is they want to do, being brave to go and do what they want to do. I feel bad because I'm like not saying people, and I'm like,
No,
I
that's
don't want
fine. And
I
I
don't
think
want
what
people
you're
to think
saying,
like I'm
no,
not inspired, but
no, what you're doing is beautiful. You're being honest.
yeah,
You're being authentic.
yeah,
You don't have to have 3 people. So
right,
you said
okay,
a lot of people inspire you. So no, you're doing
yeah,
just fine.
yeah. I'm a person that I in addition to watching TV and things like that, I listen to a lot of podcasts. So anyone that does like what you're doing is just like you said, you got out there and started to see people doing that. And it's like really inspiring because it's like, you don't know if anybody's going to watch it. You don't know what's going you don't know what people are going to say, but you're going to get up there and do it. And like, that's really inspiring to see that.
Yeah,
Like, you're just like, all right, I'm just going to do this thing.
absolutely. So now here's another one for you.
Mhm.
What would the 9-year-old Marnita say to the adult Marnita today?
That's a good question. I'm trying to figure out where I was in my mindset when I was 9 years old, because I feel like at one point I was really like this open child with like, I felt like the possibilities were endless. And then at
Mhm.
some point that shut down. Um, and I'm trying to remember if I think I was still like possibilities are endless at 9 years old. So oh, okay. So 9-year-old Marnita would say to me now, just go for it. Just do it. Do the things that you want to do, because there are other things that I want to do. Um, Besides, some are pole dancing related, some are not, just kind of all in the creative realm. And so 9-year-old Marnita would be like, just go for it. Just do it. You can, it's 2021, about to be 2022. You can pretty much do anything. One of the things that I don't tell people a lot is one thing I've thought about doing is starting a podcast. And
Okay,
that's
there
part of
you
the reason
go.
why I want to do this too, just kind
Oh,
of see something on the
absolutely.
side. So 9-year-old Marnita would be like, you have a microphone, you have a computer.
I love it. I love it. Go for it. I should hook
Yeah.
you up with my coach. Really a
Yeah.
good person to get you started.
Oh yeah.
Now, before we end this conversation, would you like to leave any kind of parting words to the listening audience?
I think I'll reiterate something I said earlier is just like you can do whatever you allow yourself to do. Just do it. I know there are a lot of people out there that want to do things, but they feel afraid. They feel like they're not going to be accepted or they're not the best. They're not totally prepared. Just start. A lot of people aren't totally prepared. They aren't the best. They aren't the most polished when they start something, but we don't always see that.
Right, right.
And that's part of the reason why I don't mind that my old videos of me struggling and things are out there, because if you just see the finished product, sometimes you're just looking to be that finished product. And it's like, no, you've got to start somewhere. And I think that we forget that. So if there's something that's really on your heart or your mind and you want to try it, try it.
Girl, that is so beautiful. I'm sitting here as you were talking about that when they want to see the finished product. I have made people think my life is so easy because they see the finished product. They don't
Mm-hmm.
see how late I stay up at night. Or, for
Mm-hmm.
example, even when I sew,
Mm-hmm.
washing the fabric before I cut it,
Mm-hmm.
then having to press it, and then get it, all of the steps that go into having like this dress, the finished
Yeah.
product. It's a lot of steps that go into it. So I really appreciate you saying that. That was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Marnita, I am just so grateful that you were able to come. And I know our family members are going to be so proud. And I can't wait for them to hear it, because just think how many of them don't know this story.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's going to be wonderful. We have a family Zoom every end of the month. So this would be something that I'll be able to present to them. I cannot wait. It's beautiful. So again, I would like to thank you for taking out the time to be on Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. And to my listening audience, I want to thank you for tuning in and stay in touch. Check me out on YouTube and subscribe. All right. So, Marnita, we definitely will have you back again, and next
All
time with
right.
videos, okay?
All right.
Thank you.